to the show. Today I'm at Wine Connection in Sukhumvit 47. I'll be talking to Canadian prolific author Christopher G. Moore about the murky underworld of crime fiction in Bangkok city. Let's go and talk to Christopher, see what he has to say. Let's start decoding Bangkok. Hi Christopher, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks for being here, and happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So, Christopher, what brought you to Thailand?
I first came to Thailand in 1983. I was a young academic at the University of British Columbia, a law professor there, and I spent some time in Asia, in Tokyo and Seoul and Hong Kong, and came to Bangkok. And then in 1988, I came back again at the end of '88 to do research for a book. And I thought I'd come, had a 90-day visa, do the research, take the notes, go back home, write it, next. 27 years later, I'm still here, still researching, and on book about 34.
Wow, that's a lot of books to date. What inspired you to become a crime writer in the first place?
That's a good question. I think there are a number of factors, and my background is law, so I trained as a lawyer. I was a law professor.
Law to crime makes sense.
Law, crime, there is a connection on both sides of that equation. And probably a turning point was in the early 80s. It was after I'd first come to Thailand. A former student of mine who was a police officer in England had a place in New York, invited me, so I went there, and he arranged for me to do ride-alongs with the NYPD. So I was out with the New York police for about 6 months as a civilian observer, and I got hooked on the whole crime scene of going to various places where crimes had been committed and being part of that process.
So you actually saw some of the scenes and,
yes.
You know, at the crime scenes.
Yes.
Incredible. And how many books do you have to date?
It kind of depends how you count, but it's something around 34 books. There's 15 books in the Calvino series. There are 10 standalone novels. There's a novelette. There are a number of anthologies. There are some non-fiction books like Heart Talk, which is one of the books I brought along today, about the Thai culture and Thai language.
Marriage Tree.
Marriage Tree is part of the Calvino series. So I've been doing about a book a year since 1985.
Incredible amount of work. As a lawyer, do you ever feel sorry for your characters in the books?
Well, since I'm responsible for putting them there, if I feel sorrow, it's a little bit on my responsibility in my head.
Is it a good place for fiction to write crime?
If you're going to write a crime series, which I do, the Vincent Calvino series, that you need a really first-class international city, which is cosmopolitan, which is diverse, which is growing, which has tensions, which has conflicts. Bangkok has had all of those in the 27 years that I've been here. So it makes for a very good place because it has the essential ingredients. Interesting population from various parts of Thailand live here, plus you have people from all around the world who are expats who live here, and you have the tensions within communities, between communities, communication, miscommunication, all of the essential elements of drama.
It's all here. Christopher, if you had to base your crime novels in another country, where would that be?
You know, I've set novels in a number of different places. Again, the Calvino series, 0 Hour in Phnom Penh is set in Cambodia during the UNTAC period. I was there as a journalist covering that period. And that novel came out in '94. And then I was in Vietnam as well, doing legal work in Vietnam in the early '90s. And I set a novel there called Comfort Zone, which came out in 1995, which again was a very crucial time in the development of that country. In Cambodia, I caught that UNTAC, the constitutional crises of trying to put together after the Khmer Rouge. And then Comfort Zone was looking really at the post-embargo Vietnam and then Burma in Missing in Rangoon, just as it starts to open up to the west.
Yeah.
So I've tried to be in the places just as there's been a wave of new change coming in, to try to capture that excitement, that drama, that conflict.
Yeah, you seem to certainly have been on the edge of those frontiers of change. Bangkok has changed over the last 2 decades. Very cosmopolitan these days.
Yeah. Bangkok has changed. We talked.
Do you think it's lost some culture, some charm?
It's always when you adapt to change, you have the tendency to be nostalgic for the things that are lost, and that's just normal. Is that when we have to adapt to a new way of seeing, a new way of doing, a new way of having relationships, there's bound to be some problems in that transition.
Yeah.
And Bangkok has been in a big transition the last quarter of a century, and part of the transition is internal to Thailand, part of the transition is global. Because now, when I came here in '83, I might as well have come during the time of Somerset Maugham and Joseph Conrad. I mean, there was no fax. I mean, there was maybe a fax machine, but you needed a license to have one. People had a telex. You think of the Titanic. That was the kind of communication systems we had. There were no mobile phones. There were no internet. There were no 7-Elevens. There were no Tesco's. There were no shopping malls or wine connections.
Yeah, that's right.
It was shop houses. It was low-rise during those days. Now we've got a globalized world where Thais are part of an international global world. They're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they're talking to people across class lines, regional lines, international lines. So as a result, the attitudes and the expectations have shifted.
Yeah, certainly have. What would Vincent Calvino think of all these changes? Does he have an opinion?
Well, Vincent Calvino has, in a sense, been chronicling those changes for 25 years. The first book came out, Spirit House, in 1992. That world of Vincent Calvino is very different from the world of Crackdown, which is the 2015 15th book in the series.
Technologies has moved forward, everything.
Technology has changed a lot of things.
Has changed too.
You didn't have the boiler room technology or the kind of infrastructure. So crime is here, but it's a different kind of crime that is now part of a system. I mean, there's still the old-fashioned crime. I mean, Thais, like people all around the world, occasionally will kill each other. And so you have murders, you have kidnappings, you have robberies, you have these kinds of things. And that's just a normal part of most societies. But, basically, the thing that I guess keeps me here and that I like about it, I mean, the Thais are some of the most beautifully hospitable, kind, gentle, funny, witty people in the world. But if they blow a cork, you want to get out of the way because the phase transition between water and ice is nanoseconds.
That's right. Oh, I guess Vincent Calvino will have a lot to look forward to. Corruption, everything is so much more sophisticated now.
Yeah, I mean, corruption is part of a lot of political systems. So it's basically on a range. There's no binary system where one place is totally corruption free, another place is totally corrupt. Places are somewhere on that scale. And it really depends on a whole lot of historical and cultural factors where on that scale they are. And what's been interesting in the Calvino series is to kind of explore the parts of society where that happens or happens more frequently.
We're very lucky to have you documenting all these things throughout the years. You've actually been here so long, almost 25 years.
It's more than 27 years. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Is there a possibility of seeing Vincent Calvino on the big screen? Any things in the works?
I light a candle and incense every day to an altar to make that happen. And the option is with a very good production company, Film Nation, in Hollywood. And they've done all kinds of films from Michael Clayton starring George Clooney, The Imitation Game involving Alan Turing in Britain. And they're really committed. They've been in the Calvino business now for a number of years. And I have contact with them every month or so. They're updating me, and it looks promising for either a feature film or for a TV series.
Great, and very much look forward to that. Who would you peg as a star to be Vincent Calvino? Any ideas?
Well, you know, there have been lots of people along the way that have been thought about this, but it takes so long to get a movie made that the people you originally think about get too old to actually be Vincent.
To be the part. Yeah.
I mean, there was talk of Brad Pitt at one point.
Sean Penn would be absolutely awesome.
You know, Sean Penn. A whole number of these
yeah.
people have been thought as potential Vincent Calvino character actors.
Well, we very much look forward to seeing Vincent Calvino on the big screen. That would be absolutely awesome.
It would be.
Christopher, you've created a trilogy within a series. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How does that work?
The trilogy is Missing in Rangoon, The Marriage Tree, and Crackdown, which is under the auspices of the Great Unraveling. In other words, a time of enormous change. You're trying to capture what that change is. Missing in Rangoon really starts in Burma at the time, 2012. I went there because there was a great transition in their political and economic system. I wanted to capture that and also capture something about the private eye who lives here and his police colonel friend adjusting to crime in Rangoon.
Yeah.
You know, so Pratt's playing the saxophone in a bar in Rangoon, getting intelligence information about illegal drug business that connects Burma and Thailand, and there's an explosion. Okay, Marriage Tree kind of picks up on the same characters from that Burma experience and develops them. And one of the subplots there is the Rohingya. So in a sense, I was dealing with that whole issue of smuggling of people in the Marriage Tree. And then the last one, Crackdown, is a book where Calvino finds himself in Thailand after the coup, taking on some interesting cases as a private eye on behalf of an old friend who runs through all three of the books, Alan Osborne.
I'm reading Crackdown at the moment and loving it. It's
Good.
on my nightstand. You started with hard copies to paperbacks, and now we have ebooks.
You know, the ebook business is interesting because I was there right at the start, at the start of the ebook business. I mean, people may have forgotten this by now, but in 2008, my book Spirit House, which is published in the States, was the first book that Amazon ever gave away for 2 weeks. I was #1 best-selling author. I wouldn't say best-selling, best giving away author during that period of time. You know, Stephen King, John Grisham, none of them. I was #1 for 2 weeks. And as soon as they put a price on it, it was like dropping an anchor in the Marina Trench. No one could quite see where the book went. But so I've been there since the very beginning. The good thing about the ebooks is that it's allowed a lot of talented writers who feel that they've been cut out of the system, because it's very hard to get a New York publisher, always has been, or a London publisher, or a Berlin publisher, wherever you are. And this has allowed people who have talent to find an audience themselves. So it's a kind of a self-discovery, but you've got to be your own layout person, your own designer. There are a lot of things you have to do, marketing people. Publishers do a lot for writers that's not obvious to the reader, to readers on the outside. So when you start to do that on your own, you start to see it's hard work. But it can be done. And there are a number of hugely successful ebook writers who've become multimillionaires selling books.
Who've never printed a paperback.
Exactly. And then the publishing houses chase after them to give them a contract. The real enemy of a writer isn't piracy, it's obscurity.
That's interesting.
Is that you want to be read, basically. I mean, this is not an invitation to go out and steal my books.
The murky world of publishing.
But the problem is competition. There are millions of people, because it's easy now to upload an ebook, and there must be 100,000 a month that are uploaded. And now you think how many books you read in a year, how many books you're going to read in a lifetime, and you probably read more books than the average person. Maybe the average person reads 5-10 books a year. So, you know, if you read in a lifetime 1,000 books, that's a fraction of the books that are being uploaded in a week.
What would be your advice then to a writer, an up-and-coming budding writer, written his first book, trying to get a publishing deal?
You know, advice is kind of cheap. There are so many different ways to do it. It's a little bit like a musician, though. You have to be realistic.
Yeah.
It's not a profession. You don't go to law school. You don't go to medical school to be a writer or a trumpet player or a painter. Yeah. A lot of it just depends on just sheer luck, random choice. You know, you see this in music, right? You'll see someone on stage and they got 70,000 people in the audience screaming and yelling and they can't get enough of them. And you'll go into some hotel lounge bar and you'll hear this fantastic singer and there are a dozen people, you know, talking amongst themselves and drinking and ignoring what they're hearing, not knowing they're in the presence of huge talent.
Yeah, that's right.
The world is not a fair place. That's the first thing you learn. And if you have a sense of entitlement, I'm a great writer, and the world will embrace me, you may be disappointed. You have to do the music, you have to do the painting, you have to do the writing, because you have an obsession with it. You love it. It's a way of expressing who you are, your deepest feelings, your deepest emotions, and that is the journey itself. If others share that and learn from that, then that's a good thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher G. Moore, thank you for being on the show. And happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
All right.
And thanks to a great crew from the Bangkok Post for setting this up.
Yeah.
Very professional.
They're great.
Well done.
I love working with a great team. And thank you to the audience. And we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching.